an attendee be able to just oh, okay, well, that's a good sign. Would somebody who's watching at home um, be able to post in the Q&A chat if they're able to hear us, just so we know that the recording is still working? Oh, okay, good. I got a note that it's all good and we're good to keep going. Okay, great. Sorry about that. I think it might have been my internet at home, but I hope it didn't interrupt the end of your answer, Noah. So throwing, oh, good. Okay, everyone's saying it's working. Beautiful. So throwing to the Q&A box, Noah. So I guess a sort of optimistic note, which is what is a success that you are most proud of for ACRI since October 7th, a piece of work that you have done?
Wow, that's hard. Okay, I can choose three. Is that okay? I can't do one.
Yeah,
I'll share three
go ahead.
stories. One is I'm very proud of our work again on prisoners' rights. The situation of Palestinians has been Palestinian prisoners has been horrifying in the prisons, and we were able to shut down a detention center where there was clear evidence of torture. We were able to, after a very long time, but still were able to work against the starvation of Palestinian prisoners. And it was very hard work to do. It was very unpopular, and I'm very proud of our staff for keeping up at it. And you know, in our perception, if everybody has human rights, even the most notorious, despicable people have human rights. And if you take the human rights of despicable people, then everybody's human rights are threatened. And so I'm very proud of that work that we did. Um, I want to say that it's been very frustrating that we were able to have very little impact in Gaza during the war. The cases that we brought, you know, they took a long time to deliberate. The court was less responsive. The situation kept changing, and we were unable to have any very significant successes on issues of Gaza. But I do carry with me like a story from we were representing the Nusrat hospital in northern Gaza when the area was completely isolated. So we submitted an appeal where to have more medical supplies provided to the hospital that was kind of under siege. So it was the only hospital for the population that was there, and they had no soap. They had so many different shortages of different medicine, and we were working with them for weeks to try and get more supplies. Um, and then it was at the end of the war, and then the military bombed the hospital. They first said that there was a terrorist attack, and then they said that there was a camera which they thought was a terrorist, and it turned out to be a journalist. And so we had been working for weeks with this hospital. It was in such a bad shape, and then it was bombed, and 8 people were killed. And the lawyer who was dealing with the case, she told me, I can't bring myself to call them, our clients there. Um, and I stood with her in the room as she called them, and she told them that we had a hearing date after the bombing. The court scheduled a hearing date, and the the doctor that we spoke to was so happy to hear from us, and he said, "I thought you would lose hope," and we told him, "We thought you would lose hope," and this kind of situation where and he said, "I can't lose hope because of my patients," and we said, "We can't lose hope because of you," and so that kind of commitment to doing what we can, even in very difficult situations, is something that I will carry with me. And the last thing that I'm really proud of is I'm really proud of the people who kept under missile attacks, with police brutality, with everything that was going on. People kept protesting against the war, and we did dozens of litigation on freedom of protest during the war in Gaza. And every time I found inspiration in the people who wanted to go out into the streets and protest against the war, against the government, and to continue to have that voice of justice and resistance alive. So that was something I was constantly inspired by during the war.
Thank you so much, Noa. For those at home, we'd sort of prepped Noa that we were going to end the webinar on a question about what gives you hope. But I actually think, thank you to Anonymous who submitted that question, that you've actually already given us a really beautiful, I guess, a spoonful of hope, which means we have time for maybe one or two more other questions. So the last chance, if anyone wants to submit one more to the Q&A, but I'll give you this question, then maybe if we have time, one more. You mentioned just briefly a system that ACRI had created that it will take 45 minutes to deal with election interference on election day. Can you give us a little bit more information about that particular initiative, or what you have kind of prepared to do?
So it's not completely done yet, but the idea is that we're going to prepare all the scenarios ahead of time, and we're going to know where the judges are sitting for every district, and then we can, as soon as we have a report on something, ACRI has a lot of experience of doing things very, very quickly and very professionally, so we're trying to see if we can use that in order to be very effective on election day. If something happens, it doesn't mean that things will happen, but we want to be very ready if they do.
Amazing, thank you. And that sort of ties quite neatly to the next question, which is, there's a whole ecosystem of organizations working in the human rights space inside of Israel. How does ACRI coordinate your work with all of them? You mentioned Adala amongst, I'm sure, lots of others. What are the ways that you guys make sure that you're tackling issues effectively, that you're dividing and conquering, or you're combining your efforts when it's needed?
So first of all, it's an ongoing effort to coordinate. I think that we are so under attack and so under-resourced for the tasks that we have that nobody wants to duplicate work. We want to do the best we can to be using every resource that we have towards the goal. And there are many different ways in which we do it. So for instance, there are many appeals in which we have multiple appeals from different organizations, and then each one of us is having a different tack, and then that means we can provide different arguments in front of the court. We have more time to argue, and then we can coordinate that way. There are many ground operations for election day, and we're trying to connect to all of them to see how we can be most helpful. And it's an ongoing work, but I think everybody's very open to it. Everybody wants to be cooperating. The good thing in this emergency situation is that we all have a very clear shared goal of supporting each other as we try to fight for the democratic institutions and for human rights and equality.
Well, thank you so much, Noa. I mean, what a beautiful note to end on. So I really hope for everybody who's been listening at home, thank you so much for listening. And particularly, Noa, thank you so much for all of the insight that you shared, the wisdom, and actually hope, which I know is always cliche, but as you said, if you guys want to continue to do this work there.
So I have a suggestion on hope. I think that hope is really important. And I also know that there are days when hope is not accessible. Like you can't feel hopeful, you feel depressed. And that's okay. Sometimes we feel depressed. But persistence, determination, commitment, and agency we have every day, even when we're not hopeful. And that's what we do to keep doing the work. Some days you're very hopeful, some days it looks very bad. You do the work every day. And that is a good path to finding hope again, even if you don't have it that specific day.
Thank you. I know we talk a lot about how hope is actually, it's not an emotion, it's a doing word.
Exactly.
Hope is an action. So thank you so much. So again, thank you so much for sharing about the work that ACRI is doing and the kind of immense challenges that it's taking on in the lead up to the election, but also that the work doesn't end just because the elections will have happened. And we wish you and ACRI the best of luck, and we'll continue to kind of spotlight examples of the work that you're doing so that the community here can listen. And we'll also share through your website link, like the link to ACRI and to your mailing list in case people want to follow kind of more closely. For the rest of our attendees, thank you so much for joining for tonight and for all of your thoughtful questions. Before we jump off, there were just two quick things we wanted to share for you all to take away. The first is, as we mentioned at the beginning, this series continues. This is the second in a series of 5. And our next session for KOLOT is happening on Wednesday, the 2nd of September at 7 p.m. And we'll be joined by Achia Schatz from the organization Fake Reporter. He will be talking to us about, oh, good, we're getting a nod.
Yeah.
He's supposed to be incredible, and he'll be talking about how inside of Israel they're working on challenging misinformation and the rise of the kind of normalization of political violence online, which in this election, but I also think we can, in an Australian context and a global context, could not be more timely, and what learnings he has about the work that they're doing to kind of capture and respond to this sort of rhetoric online. So if tonight was interesting or resonated with you, please register and share the details with anyone in your family or community who you think would be interested. All the details are on the NIF website, and we'll drop a link to sign up in a follow-up email. And then secondly, for any members of our community who are in their 20s and 30s or who have family members here tonight, applications are open for the New Gen Advocacy and Leadership Summit, which is the program I run as our policy and impact manager. It's happening in mid-October this year. And it's a chance for future community leaders in the Australian Jewish community to learn to amplify voices like Noah's and of other Israelis and Palestinians who are fighting for peace and equality. So it's a mixture of information sessions, some online, and then a number of upskilling and skill-based sessions to sort of build the next generation of a progressive Jewish voice on Israel and Australia. If you'd like to find out more, we're having an online information session tomorrow at 6 p.m. But the applications are open for another 3 weeks or 2 weeks. So please spread the word. That's everything. So thank you so much again to Noa and to ACRI, and for all of you for joining us on your Monday night. We hope to see you again on the 2nd of September. Thanks, Noa. Bye all.